Not really sure how to start this video. Wind's not really helping either. Well, doing a lot of thinking, and it's getting really, really close to leaving time. Yeah, I leave in about almost 96 hours, exactly. It's kind of still processing in my head what I'm trying to accomplish. I hope it's worth it. I'm excited, for sure, but also pretty anxious. My biggest fear is actually not even really anything serious, but it's more about, I think, failing the trek. My great-grandfather, Adam Klosowski, was a B-17 waist gunner. He was captured by German ground forces and sent to Stalag Luft IV prison camp in Poland. And he was part of the 6,000 men who were evacuated from the camp on February 6th, 1945. And the men were marched almost 500 miles across Germany. This Monday, I'm going to be leaving Minnesota and going to Europe in an attempt to retrace the death march out of Stalag Luft IV step by step. Yeah. There's been a lot of small documentaries and books about the death march out of the Stalag Luft IV. But as far as I know, no one has ever attempted to recreate it step by step. So this is something that has never, ever been done before. And it's, I think, a great opportunity because you don't really get to do something that no one has ever done before. But I am starting to get to that point where I'm starting to realize just how much of a huge thing it is and what I'm taking on. And there are a little bit of inklings in the back of my mind that are telling me that I might be biting off more than I can chew. But I'm a very, very stubborn person, and I think if I can get into that mindset of just refusing to quit no matter what, I think that I won't be having any issues. I know it's probably going to be life-changing, and a lot of the times it's going to absolutely suck, but I have to keep reminding myself that what I'm going to be going through is absolutely nothing in comparison to the real event that took place 81 years ago.
Officially on my own now. 18 months of preparation, and I'm here. I am about 2 hours away from getting on board my plane to Reykjavik on my way to London. First time to Europe and first time traveling alone. This is Sudbury. Traveled a long time to get here. Hopefully we can find those memorial sites. Just coming up on the airfield right now. So, I just got off the train at Stuttgart. The trains here are complicated, to say the least. I've been trying to get here all day, and it's 3 o'clock in the afternoon. No, I'm just on my way to Krondorf, which is the town where the B-17, the Ullalun, crashed almost 81 years to the day. Kind of crazy to think about what happened here. You know, I've heard the story ever since I was a really little kid, and to be here is kind of odd. It doesn't really feel like I'm actually here, you know. I guess you kind of put an image together in your head, and when you see the actual picture, it's not the same. But somewhere in this immediate area, with probably within a mile radius, his plane crashed. And I wish I could figure out if I could find the exact actual spot, but I wasn't really able to find an actual city hall or anything, or the cafe in the local village or anything to get any ideas of where it might be. And you know, 81 years is a long time for people to remember. And I doubt there's probably a lot of people in this village still alive to even remember it. But to be in the actual village itself, I think, is enough. So I'm on my way to Frankfurt now, and going to visit Stalag Luft. Today I'm in Oberhausen, and I am approaching what is one of the main areas of the Stalag Luft interrogation center. Great-grandpa did not specify which part he was in, either Oberhausen or Wetzlar. He said Wetzlar, but then he also said Frankfurt, which is pretty close to Oberhausen. My guess is he was probably at both, because I heard that this place was more used for interrogation, and then Wetzlar was more of the holding facility before they were brought to the permanent POW camps. So I'm visiting both. So they said that there was an old stone house or building where the prison center used to be, and I'm seeing some stones right here, so my guess is that's probably it. Aside from that, there's pretty much nothing here. After the war, it was actually converted into, I think it was called Camp David for the US military, but then it was taken down in the early 90s. But I think this is all that's left of it. Not much to really see here. My guess is there's probably going to be more at Wetzlar, but we'll see. I heard that there was a kindergarten right next to it, and that's it right there. So, kind of odd that you have kids learning right next to where downed airmen were being interrogated. So, what I did not know is that Wetzlar, or Stalag Luft, is at the top of a really tall hill. So I've been going uphill for about a mile now. I just passed the little neighborhood of Dahlheim, and I think once I get to the edge of this up here, we'll be at the actual site. I just got off at Podborsko, and I'm walking to Stalag Luft IV from the original station where thousands of Americans came off of train cars and walked 3 miles towards the prisoner of war camp just up the road. I gotta admit, I really enjoy walking through this a lot more than I do downtown Berlin. Oh, it feels like a completely different place, and I almost feel at home here. Just feels so much like northern Minnesota. Tons of spruce, tons of oak trees. Feels just like Sturgeon Lake. Cobblestones now, that's interesting. Don't know what that means. Oh my god. I think this is it. This is Stalag Luft IV. Sorry I haven't been filming as much. I'm so busy walking I didn't want to stop and take the time to film. It's my third day on the walk, and it's been raining all morning. Let me show you my socks. That's not good. So I bring spares, right? I think I'm about 5 miles in, and I still got another 15 to go today. This wasn't the easiest part of the trek, I know that. Poland has a lot of space between each one of the towns, so I have to walk farther each day. I wanted to try and cover around 15 miles, but at this rate I've been covering about 20. I'll probably have to cover another 20 tomorrow and then another 15, but hopefully once I cross the German border I won't have to walk as much each day. My first night, I didn't record any of it, but when I was walking out of Stalag Luft IV, I ended up walking 40 miles almost non-stop because in Slavomorsk I couldn't get a taxi or an Uber, and I ended up just having to walk all the way to Ryman, and that was about 37 miles non-stop, plus the other 2 miles to actually get to Stalag Luft IV, and then another mile in the morning, so that's about 40 miles. What I ended up doing was just spending the whole day at Ryman to just recuperate, because that was almost double or triple what I've intended to do each day. Well, it stopped raining. Now the wind came. kind of nice because it actually helps to dry me off really well. I still got a long way to go though today. Just hoping it doesn't rain again. I don't know if you can see, but right there is a roe deer. So you can't find these in North America. Those guys are found only here in Europe. So it's really cool to see something that you don't get to see back home. Also, it's almost hunting season right now, so the males will probably start going into rut pretty soon. They don't get as big as whitetails. There's another one poking their head out. Some followers. Go on, puppies. Go on. As I've been walking, a lot of these roads have been actually turned into sand. And it's kind of funny because this sand almost has like a really salty smell to it. Almost like I'm at the beach. And I'm wondering if maybe that has to do with me getting closer to the Baltic. I'm not really sure, but I wondered if I started getting close enough to it that I'd actually be able to start to smell it, and maybe that's it, I guess. It's funny, I had no idea that these would be the roads that I'd be walking on. I was expecting, paved roads and dirt roads and gravel pretty much the entire way. This is almost like an ATV trail. The entire road's almost flooded. Just walking along the sides of it. You can see the whole thing here. But yeah, I always kind of thought that the dense woods in Poland were way out in the eastern part, kind of by Belarus and Russia, but it's thick out here. I'm surprised. Whoa. Still like it a lot better than walking through downtown cities, though. I am just crossing the river onto WWII Island. I don't know what it is with me. I'm really tired today. It makes sense. I've gone almost 100 miles in 5 days, so I guess I deserve to be a little bit tired. So, just got onto the ferry at Svanuša. So, I'm leaving WWII Island and then heading over onto Uzdam. And then over just past, on the other side of Uzdam Island is the German border. So, this was a place that my grandpa mentioned specifically being loaded up onto a ferry, probably somewhere in this exact area, and then being taken off right across the channel to Uzdam. Actually, I don't know if you can see, but way out there, right where it clears up there, that's the Baltic Sea. So I'm right on basically the northernmost point of Poland and Germany. But yeah, they have a ferry that comes across here every half hour. And it just takes people from from one island to the next. That's what I'm doing right now. I should probably mention too that this is the first time I actually get to sit while I'm traveling for the last 100 miles or so. They've all been on foot. So I'm gonna enjoy the break. I'm just about to come up to the German border. Just a couple more minutes and I'll be in Germany again. I just made it through customs and I am back in Germany. I'm officially leaving Poland. It's kind of a little bit of an odd feeling that I've gone almost 100, or well over 100 miles now. A car coming. But back 81 years ago, there wasn't a border there. It was still just Germany. All of the towns that I've been through, from Stalag Luft IV to here, were part of German Pomerania, and then after the war they became Poland. But
yeah, now I'm in Germany proper. I'm gonna make it to Usedom tonight and sleep very good again, and then head out for Anklam the next day. All right, so I didn't really get a chance to explain what I did yesterday on my way to Svinusia. And what I actually saw when I was walking on my way there was, it looked like an artillery cannon. Walk up closer to it, and then I noticed that there's a small concrete building, which turns out was a bunker that had been converted into a museum. So I walk up to the museum, and a guy steps out. Most likely, I think of him as that he's probably the curator. I pay him 12 zloty, which is about $3. And he takes me inside, and when I walk inside, it's just shelf after shelf of weapons, helmets, memorabilia, all this stuff from World War II, and I was just kind of blown away by it. And then he kind of starts explaining to me everything that's going on in here. And keep in mind, I don't speak Polish or German, so he was explaining all this to me, and I'm kind of like nodding my head, kind of going along with it. And eventually he just walks over, picks up a Soviet helmet, puts it on my head, and then hands me a Soviet submachine gun, puts that in my hand, and then goes, picture. So I end up taking a picture. Then next thing you know, he's handed me a bazooka, taking a picture at the bazooka. And then he hands me a huge, heavy machine gun, pick that up too. But just seeing all that stuff, it was really kind of surreal. Just, I'm holding all these weapons inside a former Nazi bunker, and this guy's taking pictures of me in this place. So it was really bizarre, but also kind of an unreal experience to be in a place that, you know, I've heard about for so long, and then to actually see the relics that were left behind from that. Good morning. It's 10:32. I am just about to cross the bridge off of Usedom Island onto the mainland of Germany. Give you another shot of the bridge once I'm up there. I don't know if you can see, but the clouds are picking up quite a bit. It's really windy right now. I'm hoping this is just something that passes through and doesn't start to pour rain. So yeah, it's windy as heck. I just crossed the bridge, but I'm not officially on the mainland yet. There's this narrow stretch of land that's been put here for cars and for hikers and bikers that just cuts right through the salt marsh. And so I've just been walking through this for the past couple of minutes, but should be hopefully getting to the mainland in about 15-20 minutes probably. It's kind of cool to be walking through all this. It reminds me of the Everglades without the warmth. There's a couple of roe deer right in front of me. I think they're about to cross over on the road. I'm gonna walk up really slow. But I want to see if I want to see how close I can get to them. Here we go. It's a fawn, I think. I'm getting followed by cows. Morning. It's October 13th, so it's, I think, the 11th day of walking. And to say I'm tired is a little bit of an understatement. But no, I'm not quitting yet. I think I passed 150 miles the other day, so I'm definitely progressing. I'd say today has probably been one of the hottest days that I've walked, and I haven't looked at the exact temperature, but it's definitely warmer. Doesn't also help that I've actually been going uphill almost all day too. You can't see it really, but I'll film it. Oh, here we go. You can kind of see the lake back there. That's the, I think, Commerce Sea. It's not a sea. It's a really big lake. And for most of the day, I've just been going around it. And then eventually that'll take me to Malchin, where I'll be spending the night. And then the next day I'll be going out to, I think, Varen. Well, it's my 11th or 12th day of walking. I'm tired. I'm so tired. The past couple of days, well, yesterday and as well as today, I've had to go past using my average. I've been trying to stay around 15 miles each day, distance-wise, but yesterday I did 20, and I think this one's probably going to be about 19 miles. It's tiring. It is really tiring, and that's why I haven't really been filming as much as I thought I'd be. I thought I'd be, having my camera out all the time. But it actually just takes me a lot of energy just to raise my hand up to videotape myself with my phone. I brought a GoPro and stuff too, and I was hoping to do a time lapse of what it's like to walk each day and like just what I'm seeing. It's been kind of nice today though, because I'm back in the woods. So it definitely beats walking along freeway or highways or any just busy roads. You kind of have the place to yourself out here. Also, if you need to go to the bathroom, you don't have to worry that much. It was raining earlier today, kind of drizzling. I had my raincoat on for a little bit and then took it off. My raincoat, I probably mentioned this earlier, but it's basically almost entirely non-permeable, so no water can go in or out. So if I'm walking, hour after hour, and I start building up the sweat, it doesn't evaporate, so eventually I just get drenched anyway. So I've usually just been taking my raincoat off as I'm walking through the rain. If it starts downpouring like crazy, I'll put it on for a little bit, but if it's just a light rain, I don't even bother. Hopefully the wind kind of dries me out, and if the sun pops out, that helps too. But, feeling tired and everything, the one thing that kind of just keeps me going is just thinking about all these guys who were out here 80 years ago doing this. Not by choice. I'm here by choice. They were out here doing this on basically no food, and I'm covering more ground than they did, so I can get done in a shorter amount of time. These guys were out here for weeks, months even, in the snow. And it's just kind of hard to fathom that, and that's kind of my motivation to keep going, is every single thing that I can complain about out here, it's nothing compared to what happened in these woods that long ago. I guess kind of cause for a little bit of a celebration. I don't know if you can see on my walking stick, I've been notching every single mile, and so it's starting to actually look like a different kind of bark. Hopefully I'll have enough room for the entire walk. I wanted to bring this thing home with me, but I'm wondering how I'm going to do that, so I might just maybe saw off the top part of it with all the notches on, because it's not fitting in my backpack, that's for sure, and I don't think security's going to let me pass with it. You never know. All this walking, you kind of have a lot of time to yourself to think, and your mind just kind of tries to think of a way to keep itself occupied. It's kind of odd where your mind goes. Sometimes you think about TV shows that you watched before, movies, think about movie scenes that you really like. Definitely thinking about my family. I've been away from them for, a couple of weeks on end before, so that's normal. And obviously I can call them, which is good. But it does kind of get lonely out here when you don't really have anyone that can, you can have a decent conversation with in your own language. Even Spanish would be nice. But, yeah, I'm still trying to wrap my head around German. Thankfully, I've kind of started to, now I wouldn't say understand, but if you're in a situation where you're paying for food or something, you kind of understand what they're asking for or stuff like that. But I'm definitely going to enjoy having face-to-face conversations. I think when I get back, I didn't really think I'd miss it as much as I thought I would. But I guess having this iPhone is helping me out, because I guess you're my company out here. It's kind of hard not to compare my situation to what happened to my great-grandpa's while he was out here, and trying to figure out the similarities and differences. And obviously, even though I'm in the same area, there's a lot of differences. One, I'm hungry quite a bit throughout this trek, but I'm definitely not starving. It's not February, it's mid-October, so the weather I can't really complain about, even if it does rain. Definitely a more shortened version of this walk. But I would say the one thing that which I can't really say I envy or would enjoy, because I don't think there's really anything enjoyable about being a Nazi prisoner of war, but there were 6,000 guys walking together, and so obviously if you're with that many guys, you're going to be building relationships with people, and you're probably going to have to start developing trust with a lot of people. And, if there's ever kind of any kind of hard thing that I go through in life, or even just something as simple as, doing a really grueling exercise, when you're training, you got somebody else who's kind of going through something similar with you. And out here I don't have that. This is all me. It's been me for the last 200 miles, and it definitely will be me walking alone for another 200 miles after this. So I kind of think about those relationships. My great-grandpa was with not all of them, but most of the guys that he had crashed with, most of the entire time he was out here. And he definitely built a friendship with Lyle Grant. When he was out here, they made a vow to help keep each other alive, no matter what. And I think, if you have a bond like that, and make a vow like that, that definitely, I think, will be a friendship that will carry throughout your entire life. And I know they definitely wrote letters to each other until they both died. But I kind of always think about, is there anyone in my life that's non-family related who I have that connection with? And I don't necessarily know if I do or not, but thankfully I haven't been in a lot of situations where my life has really been on the edge. But part of me is curious to know if my life was on the edge, who would those people be that I could count on and that they could count on me for? Something to think about. Jinxed it. It's raining again, as you can see. But I don't think I have much longer to get to Varen. I think it's only just a couple more miles. I'm hot, so I don't have to worry about just freezing on me, because I don't plan on stopping until I get to Varen. Normally, getting wet like this in this cold would not be a good idea, but when you're on the move like this, the only thing you can do is just keep moving. as tired as you are when you're walking, you can't help but also just kind of find those little things that kind of make you smile a little bit. The shrub's covering. Give me 1 second. There we go. The wind is coming right in my direction, so this is actually probably one of the best smelling moments of the entire walk so far. It smells really, really good. It's really pretty to look at too. Not a big flower guy, but I gotta admit, that's pretty cool looking. Also I was thinking about it. Kind of a personal story along with that is that my little cousin died a few years ago. Got in an ATV accident, but everyone kind of talks about his favorite color was purple, so every time you can kind of either find something purple, it kind of makes you think of it. And if you see a giant field like that, with probably seeing more purple than I've ever seen in my entire life, kind of makes you wonder if maybe it is kind of a gift from beyond. I don't know. I might send that to my aunt. She might like it. Morning. It is October 18th, so it is my 16th day of the walk. I am just leaving Parcham, and I'm on my way to Ludwigslust. And this is a part of the journey that I don't really know how to describe how I felt about it. I'm approaching the Voblin concentration camp, which is outside Ludwigslust, and that's where I'm probably going to be this afternoon. And I'm not really sure how I feel about going to see it. You know, it does play a part in my grandpa's story. Word was that they were on their way to go to this camp because it was at one point a POW camp, but it got converted into a concentration camp later on in the war, and they just went around it. But it's, from what I've read, it's one of the most probably most horrible places you could have ever been in Nazi Germany at the time. Just the stories that you hear from some of the survivors. From what I researched also too, there's not really much left of the place there now. It's just, I think there's like a bricked over memorial site. I'll probably go take some pictures. I don't really want to film too much in that place because I feel like it's kind of good to just let the dead rest, the people who are there, you know. But I'll maybe talk about it afterwards and see what I feel once I'm leaving the place. But I still got a ways to go till then. I got probably another 17 miles or so to get to there. I'm hoping that I can be in Ludwigslust by 6 o'clock or 7, but by that time the sun's going down. It took me a while to get to Lubz. That was about I'm about a half mile from the Voblin Memorial. And, still not really sure what I'm expecting to see. I think I'm just so tired at this point that I'm kind of numb. But I'll go over there for a couple of minutes, take some pictures, see if I can look at some of the wordings on the plaques, and then start heading for Ludwigslust because I'm beat. I think this is almost a 20-miler today. I spent about probably maybe half an hour, 45 minutes walking around. And it's kind of hard to put into words, but it was definitely more than I expected. I originally thought it was just, a small, maybe like one single monument, but there's, plaques pretty much all over where the original camp was, and you can walk around and see where all the barracks would have been. There's still not foundations, but concrete places of where they show where the corners of each one of the barracks would have been. I did see some of the original bricks from the kitchen building that was still there. There's a monument that has a bunch of layered bricks on top of each other where it's designed to look almost like a cut. But each one of those bricks has a name of somebody who's in the camp. And with some of the bodies that weren't identified, the only thing that they have on there are actually the numbers of the tattoos that were, I think, on their arms. I was shocked to kind of see by how small the place is. It's not very big, and with the amount of people that were in there, it said that there was about, I think it was like 5,000 people or something in there, and 1/5 of them died. It was originally designed for 700, and it had that many people in it. It isn't just insane. It mentioned on some of the plaques that they stopped burying bodies and instead just ended up piling them up in the room where they were supposed to do, well, washing. There was basically no running water in the camp either. There was a single pump for 5,000 people. Probably one of the most overcrowded concentration camps, and there's even the wordings of one of the survivors saying that he'd been to 7 concentration camps, and he said that this one was absolutely by far the worst, which kind of goes to show you just how bad it really was there. It's about 9:30, and I am leaving Ludwigslust right now. And it is a Sunday, so I'm thinking of maybe that might mean why it's quiet. But this is probably one of the biggest towns I've been in, but it feels like it's the most quiet right now. I also think it might have to do with the weather. I noticed as soon as I walked out today, it is cold. I just checked the temperature and it's 38 degrees. So, yeah, winter's definitely coming here. This is what I'm talking about here. Sunday morning, and it looks like I've almost got the entire town to myself. It's been another long day, but I've got 2 reasons to celebrate. The first one, not only, at least I'm pretty sure I'm crossing 300 miles today, but I'm also crossing over the River Elbe, which means I'm going over state lines into Lower Saxony. So I'm getting closer and closer to the finish line. So this is it. This is the River Elbe. So 81 years ago, the bridge I'm standing on was not here. So what happened was probably somewhere down here or back in that direction, all of the POWs were put on the boats and then crossed over from this side to this side. This is actually the bridge or the river that separates Mecklenburg-Vorpommern, or Western Pomerania, and Lower Saxony. So they would have been crossing over state lines, as I'm doing right now. But this was kind of a really big obstacle, I think, that if they believed that the Soviets were chasing them, by crossing over this would have bought them a lot of time. Because this is a pretty big river, and I can see also the current is moving pretty fast. So big, powerful river, and I imagine that it would have taken a long time. If there weren't any bridges, they might have been destroyed. So, yeah, a part of the story that was mentioned, and I'm getting to see it in person. I'm anxious to see how far I've walked today and how long it takes, I guess, distance-wise, to get from Ludwigslust to Dannenberg, because I'm still walking. Started walking at 9:30 this morning, and now it's 6:30 in the evening. So the sun is basically gone. I think I've got a couple more miles to go to Dannenberg itself, and then probably another mile or so into town to get to my hotel. But this is probably the longest day of walking, probably since the very beginning, when I did that 40-miler nonstop from Podborsko train station to Rajkovo, or Ryman. I'm trying to remember where it was. I think it was Ryman. But yeah, long day. Don't think it's 30 miles, but it's probably darn close. Way out at the end of the cornfield, there's a herd of animals of some kind. And I cannot tell what they are. I thought at first that they were just a whole bunch of roe deer, but I don't know, they're acting really weird, where they're just running around in circles and running all over the place. They're moving kind of like deer, but they're like hopping, and there's one that's like dark black in color. So I'm wondering, I thought maybe they might be pigs, but I don't know. Way too far away to tell. Binoculars would have been great. I think they're probably roe deer. Maybe they're dogs. I don't know. So, just got into my hotel room. I just figured I would show you one of my, actually probably my most favorite part of the day. You ready? All right. So here, backpack comes off. Ugh. 3, 2, 1. Ugh. There we go, in the chair. I don't know exactly what it is. It might just me being so incredibly tired, or just spending so much time on your own, you have so much to think about. But this is, I think, the point where I don't want to say I necessarily understand what he went through, but it kind of hits me just how terrible that the situation that he was in was. You know, I've walked well over 320 some miles. I've gone days where I've missed meals. I haven't had supper some nights. I've walked 13, 14 plus hours in a day, straight through the night. Things that aren't necessarily fun, but it's just 1/10 of the time that my grandpa spent out here. And I just can't imagine that feeling of walking every single day for months on end, no food. You never know where you're going, where you're going to stop. And it's just gotta be such an empty feeling. You know, and you don't really have a lot of people with you that maybe you had a connection with. None of your family knows how you are, even if you're still alive. The only people you got are the people who are starving right next to you, and you don't even really know if they're going to be with you the next day either. And just kind of that thinking about that and how much suffering he went through, and everything and thinking about every single good thing that I have today that I likely wouldn't have had if a lot of these guys hadn't volunteered to fight against evil. It's actually really humbling me right now, and I can really feel it. Oh. I just can't imagine the pain he must have even felt when he came back home too. How do you even leave all that behind you? You have to carry that with you your entire life. All that suffering and pain that you had for so long. He's tough as nails, that's for darn sure. No, I did some thinking about it too, and I want to say it in the nicest way possible. But, almost every day you see people complain about, the situations that they're in. Something in their life isn't fair. I'm not saying that those things shouldn't be tried and fixed, but if you're living in the United States today, there's, aside from, a very small minority who are suffering, you guys don't have any idea what unfair is. Yeah. The lives we live today are so good. Well, let's see how bad the wind is. It's not too bad. Weather took a little turn for the worse. Pouring. But I got another 8 miles or so in this. So I'm probably gonna get soaked. That's okay. Okay, so now I am just leaving, I think it's Wilsen. I'm sorry if I mispronounced it in German. And I am on my way to Ebstorf. This is only about a 6-mile hike. But then my plan is from there to take the train from Ebstorf to Bad Fallingbostel, where the Stalag 11B camp was. And I'm looking forward to it because it's the first time I actually get to use some kind of transportation aside from walking in about 3 weeks. I mean, aside from the ferry at Schweinusch, I haven't used any cars, any trains, nothing. So it'll be kind of nice to sit and actually move at a really fast pace for a while. But right after that, I'm just going to get right off at Bad Fallingbostel and then start making my way to Bergen-Belsen. The irony is that even though I'm kind of looking forward to it, the reason why I'm taking the train is because they took the train here as well. And the problem was that, sorry about that, they were loaded onto the trains at Ebstorf. And what happened was they ended up getting locked into livestock cars, and they were in there for about 40 hours. And that entire time, they got let out to go to the bathroom a few at a time. But aside from that, they were locked in there, and they had barely moved that entire time because they had figured out that the Nazis were actually trying to make them a target for Allied planes to bomb them. And then that way they could be relieved of having to guard them for all this time, because a lot of those guards were probably not very happy with the way the war was going, but also they had lives to get back to as well, and they didn't want to look out for them anymore. So by having the Americans bomb their own people, they could be relieved and not have to go to trial for war crimes, which is horrifying to think about. So this is Ebstorf train station. I'm not sure if this is the absolute exact location, but somewhere on these tracks, he was loaded up onto a car headed for Bad Fallingbostel, Stalag 11B. And My train's not coming for another hour, so I got a little bit of time to kill. But yeah, this was somewhere where it happened. So then this is Bad Fallingbostel. Oh, there's my train leaving. So POWs would have gotten off probably at this place right here, and then they would have taken the walk to where the Stalag 11B prison camp is. Probably about a mile from here. Here it is. These are the gates of Stalag 11B. Still there. Look at, there's a picture right here. So even though the POWs had walked hundreds of miles over the course of weeks and weeks, and they finally get to Stalag 11B, they were only there less than a week. After that, they ended up taking all of the prisoners that they had from Stalag Luft IV, at least the ones who could still walk, and then they kept pushing them. And this time, they started moving them east, back the way they came, which I think must have been a really just terrible feeling, knowing that you covered all that distance and then you have to go all the way back. Currently, I'm leaving Bad Fallingbostel, and I am on my way to Bergen-Belsen. The car coming. So as I said, I'm leaving Bergen-Belsen, or I'm leaving Bad Fallingbostel and headed for Bergen-Belsen. And only thing standing in my way is this vast forest called the Sudheide. And thankfully there's some trails to get through. It's about 12 miles to get through the whole forest. But it shouldn't lead me right out. I've been kind of nervous because I've noticed a lot of construction around here, but also right outside of Bad Fallingbostel, I know that NATO still does testing for weapons and tanks in some areas, so I've been trying to stay clear of the areas that I think are probably not exactly for civilians. But I see a sign up ahead that looks like a map, and I'm hoping that that's the trail map. So as long as I steer clear, I should be okay. Okay, so I think I might have to do a little bit of a change of plans here. So the route that I had planned is actually, in fact, in the NATO tank testing site, which is strictly off limits. So I have to come up with a new plan here. And I think what I'm going to do, because I don't want it to take off the amount of days or take it off the amount of miles that I had planned to do this march. So instead, what I'm going to do is go back to Bad Fallingbostel, get on a train, have it take me to Bergen, and then, since I was planning on visiting the Bergen-Belsen concentration camp tomorrow, what I'll do is I'll add those miles to my day, or to my journey, because it's about another 10 miles, I think, to Bergen on foot. So it's about a 4-mile walk from Bergen to the Bergen-Belsen concentration camp. 4 miles back, I can add another 2 walking around the campsite. So I think that'll pretty much just cover what it is. I just won't add the extra mileage. So I'm on my way to the Bergen-Belsen concentration camp. Again, not really sure what I'm going to be expecting. I guess the one thing I do expect to see is a lot more, because Bergen-Belsen was a much, much bigger site than Våblen. I'm just walking up here, and I think this is the old train station for where everyone was loaded off. I know that right over there is the memorial car that's used to show where all the people were transported here. I know that the main site is just another 4 miles down, so I'll probably go check that out, but I wanted to come check this train stop here real quick first. Gotta figure out a way to get across these tracks. So I'll probably look around first, but then keep moving. About a 4 mile walk, and I'm just getting to the Bergen-Belsen Memorial. Again, I'm not really going to do a whole lot of filming in there. I just want to kind of take it in. But I'll tell you everything and see afterwards. Alright, here's my update on Bergen-Belsen. Hard to put into words. Absolutely hard to put into words on that place. It's not just, a cemetery and memorial site. There is an actual museum at the place. You could spend hours and hours and hours in there. And I tried to kind of browse through as much of it as I could with the time I had. And it's hard to put into perspective how many people died there. And to see all the pictures and stuff of what it looked like when the British liberated it. The museum itself is, I guess it's kind of small, but the amount of information that they have in there is huge. They share the whole story of the camp, when it was made, when it was liberated, what went on in between, how many people died. Just a lot. After you get out of the museum, the thing that you go into is the actual site of the camp, which is covered in tombstones and monuments given to other countries. There's countries from all over the world actually put support on there. So like there's languages, you see languages from the Dutch, from Germany itself, Americans, Russians, that all kind of put their, I don't know if it's, what's the word, sympathy, I guess, for the victims that died there. For the individual peoples that they were able to identify, there was actual tombstones. Other people can go and visit. Anne Frank, obviously, is probably the most famous person who died there. So she and her sister Margot have a tombstone dedicated to them. Aside from that, there's the actual burial mounds of where the thousands of people are buried, and it just says underneath each one of them, like, here lies 5,000 people, here lies 2,000 people, here lies an unknown number of people, where they don't even really know how many people died there, but they said it was about 50,000 Jews, Roma, Sinti, homosexuals and Poles, and then another 50,000 Soviet POWs when it was originally a POW camp before it became a concentration camp. So huge burial place. And then that's just the what I just described was the concentration camp portion of it. And then you go down probably another mile or so, and then you go and you see the actual Soviet burial grounds, which is the size of a giant cemetery in and of itself. So the amount of people that died there, just it takes you away, it blows you away. And obviously there's pictures of what it looked like, and some of those pictures stick in your head. I can't imagine going to Auschwitz, where they still have a lot of the buildings that are still up, the crematoria, the gas chambers, that I can't even fathom. But it was the reason why I went was, number one, I needed the miles, I guess, because I had to take a little detour around the NATO weapons testing site. By the way, when you're walking down the roads and you're in town, you hear the tanks going off all day. You just hear the cannons, boom, you think it's thunder. But it's, just the sound of the cannons going off. But I did want to see it too, because the one thing that my grandpa did talk about was, as he would, get exchange for bread, he would trade soap and cigarettes for bread from a lot of the Polish slave women. But he talked about how that he would watch them carry around these big bags of ash and then dump them into the farm fields to use as fertilizer, and he didn't know where they were getting all of it. But then it doesn't take a lot of imagination to know where it was coming from. The Bergen-Belsen site itself says they don't really know what they did with the ashes, but yeah, I think it's pretty safe to say where it was going. I've come hundreds and hundreds of miles walking westwards, and now I have to turn around. But this was a part of the journey where the Americans and the British were coming in from the west, and in order to keep their POWs for as long as they could, then they started taking them eastwards. And my grandpa was getting worried because if they had to cross over the River Elbe again, it would be extremely hard for the British and the Americans to liberate them, and he was worried that, number one, Hitler had wanted all POWs dead before Germany fell. He was going to take every last American, Brit, Soviet that he had with him. But the other alternative was that he was worried about was he'd heard rumors of the Soviets taking American POWs back into the Soviet Union to be used in the gulags. And they were never heard from again. So he started to think that the only way that he would be able to survive would be to escape, make it out on his own. I've been walking through forest for about an hour now. I was taking some of these hiking trails through this park. And some of the trails are not really well kept, and I don't know if it's what it is, but there's a huge amount of mud and moss all over the road, so it's been making walking really, really tough. But I think I'm making it to a dirt road. And after that, I should be back out on the main road, and hopefully I'll be done in a couple more hours. But yeah, that was tough going. Coming up to the village of Betzendorf, and I'm not 100% sure, but most of the sources that I found indicate that he would have been around this village when he escaped. He and Lyle were bedded down for the night, locked inside the barn, and they were able to crawl up and out through a opening in the barn, and then crawled through the field, and then headed off into the woods. And then they decided that they were going to head westwards towards the American and British lines, and what they decided to do was hide during the day, hide in the forest, and then come out at nighttime, and then use the stars to navigate. They would use the North Star, they would find it up in the sky, keep that to their on their right shoulder, and then just keep heading west. So, one of the things I really wanted to see here in Germany was red deer, specifically a red stag, because it's coming into the rut right now. And even though these aren't wild, I'm just walking past a game farm here that has red deer, and I can see a massive stag, so I'm going to see how close I can get. Okay. So they're looking at me right now, and they're starting to move away. You can see, where's the stag? see the antlers. He's big. So that right there is probably one of my highlights of the trip. Just getting to see that and hear that as like a outdoorsman, who, I'm out deer hunting every single year, but I've never seen a red deer. But not only did I get to see one, I got to see a stag actually roaring. Today has probably had the worst weather out of the entire month I've been walking. It was, really, really windy this morning and raining, and it got so cold that the rain actually started to freeze. I could see the raindrops hitting the puddle as ice and then melting, and I had to walk through all that, and it's just been raining on and off, on and off, on and off. It's about, I think, 1 in the afternoon now. The sun is finally starting to poke its head out, but I am just beat. This is probably the most tired I've been the entire time. The place where I stayed at yesterday, there weren't any places really to get more food, and of course, if I have to stock up, getting more food means more weight. So I just grabbed some bread and some ham and some cheese, and I had that for the last 2 nights. So I probably haven't been consuming as much in that. Plus, I've got the 40 pounds on my back every single day. Today I'm just exhausted. I've got probably another, it said probably another 10 miles today. But I keep telling myself that it's almost over. This is the escape route that Grandpa took. And every single time that I complain, I always just think about him when he had to do this. He hadn't eaten for the 13 days that he was on the run. He had no steady supply of food. He was starving the entire time, freezing cold. It did rain while he was on the run, and it's spring, so it's probably around the same temperature as it is now. So just always think about that, Always think about that. Always put one foot in front of the other, and never, ever, 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 ever quit. I've come so far. I've walked hundreds and hundreds of miles. I've walked through marshes. I've walked through woods. I've walked through towns and villages, farmlands. Basically the entire country of Germany at this point, and about a quarter of Poland. I looked at the weather, which was probably, a smart or a dumb thing to do, but just because of the big storm that's been coming off of the Atlantic right now, it's been raining like this for, the past few days. This was the worst weather, and I pray that it's not like this tomorrow and the next day. And, I've come all this way, spent thousands of dollars of my life savings to travel alone, quarter of the way around the world, pretty much nothing, and put myself through all of this. And it's kind of like days like today where you have to ask yourself, is it worth it? What am I trying to accomplish? I set up a fundraiser. I wanted to help veterans who are still alive today. For the Wounded Warriors, we've, I think, got probably over $2,500 now. But, compared to how much money I've spent out here, all the money that I could have used on this trip, I could have given away for something useful. And I think about whether or not it's a selfish thing to do this. you know. I just think about my life back home. I graduated college about a year and a half ago. I had a job for 6 months. Then I started, substitute teaching as I was preparing myself for this. But, this has been about 2 years of preparation and getting ready for it. And, I just think about what I'm doing when I get back. I've only been really looking forward like the first week when I just collapse basically and eat as much as I can and sleep as much as I can. But, I have to think about what I'm doing afterwards. And, I do think for my soul, it's worth it. But, yeah, if my future wife doesn't mind the diamond on her ring being a few carats smaller because of this trip, I guess that's okay. I'm not doing it to stroke my ego. I've had a lot of people say that it is incredible at what I've done, but to be honest, it doesn't feel incredible what I've been doing. I felt more weak and more exhausted than I've ever felt in my life. I'm really here to just do this in honor of the guys who were on this march, especially my great-grandpa. And if it gets people aware of what happened here all those years ago that's kind of been forgotten, then I've completed what I set out to do. Because what happened here for those 6,000 guys can't be forgotten. I've got a little bit of a confession to make too. I don't know if I'll show people this, but I gotta get it off my chest to someone, so I might as well need his phone. When I set out to do this, I was at a really, really tough place in my life, which doesn't say a whole lot because I've had a pretty good life. But I was just finishing my senior year of college, trying to figure out how I could accomplish the things I wanted to in my life. And my dog had just passed away, and that's something that a lot of people maybe don't see as a big deal, but ever since I was a little kid, I'd wanted a dog, and when I was 11 years old, I finally got what I wanted. And as a middle schooler and high schooler, you go through a really tough time, socially, and that dog was with me every step of the way. And he ended up getting cancer, and we put him down. And it's been a really, really tough time without him, especially in those first 2 days when I was grieving. I miss Chester a lot. I've actually, you guys have probably seen this on me by now, but worn this almost every day for the past year and almost 2 years. So he's been with me every step of the way. But I think loss was one of my biggest motivations to find something to put a purpose to, and this was it. I think grief is a powerful thing, and I felt in many ways disappointed in myself by how badly I lost. And keep in mind, though, that before I lost Chester, in just a span of a few short years, I'd lost my grandpa, my dad's dad, who was kind of like my second dad to me. And then just right after that, my little cousin died in an ATV accident. and then my other grandma had died from complications from her heart surgery. So I'd lost a ton of people, and the way that I coped with it, as many people were crying, I didn't want to be around them. I felt that I couldn't really do anything to relieve their pain, and maybe in a selfish way, I didn't want to be putting myself in an uncomfortable situation. So the way I kind of coped with it was I hid all my grief alone, put it all into a dog, and then, well, the dog dies. All that grief that you've been holding in for all those years just can't go anywhere, so it just explodes out. I don't think I've ever been more happy in my life seeing that than I ever have before. Oh, this morning it was about 40-mile-an-hour winds, and the rain was freezing, literally freezing. It hit the water and it was ice. So please stay for a little bit longer. I don't know the exact location of the site, so I figured I might as well try and make it to the fight that took place afterwards. But Adam and Lyle had been walking for 12 nights, and on the 13th morning, they had machine guns firing at them. They dropped down to the ground thinking that they were probably going to be killed or captured again. And it turned out that the two soldiers who were shooting at them were British. And they saw these two guys who were in tatters, basically, with their clothes. They were walking skeletons underneath. And these two guys claimed that they were POWs who had escaped 12 days ago from a death march that was almost 500 miles long. Guys didn't believe them because they were so emaciated. And, well, to validate their story, showed them this. And they were able to confirm them as American POWs. So 202 days after their plane went down, they made it out alive. Their recovery was not easy. They were given food right away, not knowing that their stomachs had shriveled up basically so much that everything they put into their system, it would come up right away. So it was almost a shock to their body to have so much food. So they had to go on a really strict diet for a very long time. I think when you're so young in age, you don't really know just how close he came to dying. And as you get older and you start to learn more about what he actually went through, his story is way more incredible than he ever made it out to be. Probably the hardest thing I've ever done. And I can't imagine doing this for, they were walking for probably a good 2 months at least, and on empty stomachs. Those guys are warriors. Well, if you wanted to know what the weather is like today, surprise, surprise, it's raining. It's been raining all week. Don't know if this is the best way to end the trip or a good way, or I think it might be a good way because you save the hard part for last, right? But I'm kind of one of those guys who likes to get the hard part done first. But a couple more hours, just keep telling myself that. A couple more hours, my pants are soaked, my socks are already starting to get wet. But I'm almost there. Just gotta keep going. Keep going, keep going, keep going. I've said it so many freaking times into that camera. It's almost there. I've been thinking about who I'm going to be calling in a couple of hours. And yeah, there's 3 people that I'm, well, maybe 4. 4 people I'm going to call to tell them I'm done. My dad. I'm calling my dad first. I remember the last thing he told me when I was coming all the way out here. I think he knew how hard this was going to be and how exhausted I was going to be, and I don't think he really wanted to see me like that. He hugged me and said, I don't want you to do this. I don't want you to go out here, but I know why you're doing it. And I nodded my head, and there wasn't really much to say after that. I don't know what the reaction's going to be when I tell them that I did it. I'm telling my mom, obviously, of course. She's called me more than probably anyone out here. And then I'm absolutely going to be calling my grandma, Mimi. This was her dad, who was on this death march. And she knows him better than anyone else who's probably alive, except for her sisters. This is it. This is Nienberg. My grandpa and Lyle were brought here. There was a relocation center for POWs and concentration camp survivors that was in this town. So they were here for a little bit. And then after that, they got on a plane to England. And then after that, a boat back to the U.S. So I've only got probably another 2 miles at the most. I sawed through my walking stick, kept the part with all the notches on it, and threw away the bottom half. So now I don't even have the support from my stick. I'm just using my 2 legs. But I'm almost done. Railroad tracks up there. I'm not kidding. As soon as I walked up here, it started to rain. But this is it. This is the end of the walk right here. Platform 3 in Nienberg. Waiting for this moment for a really, really long time. It's been 29 days from home. Tomorrow it'll be 30. Been on my own for that amount of time. some phone calls to make.